Hi, I'm Laura Lively. Welcome to You and All of Your Parts. So I was talking to somebody recently and I was sharing with them how I work with my parts and how in the last year or so I have really focused on how I speak to them. And her response was, I can't be all lovey-dovey to my parts like you are. I let her know that when I started this journey in 2017, I was not all lovey-dovey either. And in fact, I had to create a cheat sheet on how to respond to my inner critic in a neutral manner. And even though I had to sometimes say it through gritted teeth, it was better than me being overly blended with a part that hates my inner critic. All right. Because seriously, this is kind of how it would go in my head. I just want to share this with you. My inner critic will say, like, how could you have been so stupid? And another part would jump up and say, shut up and back off. Like, we have got a lot going on. Give us a break. Right. So remember the 8 C's of self and self energy: curiosity, compassion, clarity, connectedness, creativity, courage, confidence, and calm. So the inner critic's calling me stupid, defending me parts, like telling her to back off and shut up. I don't think either of those sound like any of those 8 C's, do they? Nope, they don't know. So as I began my work, my defender part would immediately get all up in the grill of the inner critic. Shut up, leave her alone, just be quiet. What the F is wrong with you? My parts like can cuss like sailors. So I knew that I was like, okay, neither of these are self energy. I can tell, like the critic's yelling at me and the defender's yelling at the critic, and that's not self energy. And so I created a list, and honestly, I just faked it till I made it. I created a list of neutral responses that I could use with the inner critic. So that and the defender, I'm grateful to the defender for giving me some space so that I could say to the critic, yeah, how could you have been so stupid? And I was like, you might be right. I was actually maybe sorry I'd done the thing too, right? Like, or thank you for sharing. Thank you for letting me know how you feel. And so this is how I began talking to my parts at the beginning of my journey, right? Like I had to create a cheat sheet in order to, because I knew that if I was overly blended with the defender, I'm basically just in a parts fight. And I didn't want that. I wanted more access to self-energy, right? That's the goal. So I created a cheat sheet, which, probably is not IFS copacetic, but hey, it worked for me and I've shared it with my clients. And so I think it could work for you too. Anyway, but that's not the point of this particular story. I'm going to go back to, 6 years in. I have so much more compassion for my parts. Like I know what's driving the inner critic. I know, I can appreciate the part that's trying to defend me from the inner critic, right? And so now it is easier 6 years in to be more lovey-dovey, as my friend called it. And I know down in my bone marrow that all of my parts are literally doing their dead level best to help me. But back to my friend, right? I asked her, like, why can't you be all lovey-dovey to your parts? And she paused and she's like, I don't know. I don't know how to be that way. Nobody was ever that way with me. And it just feels weird. It feels weird to be saying, oh, thank you so much for sharing. And I was like, okay. So my question to her and to you, my friends, is what stops you from being able to be loving, accepting, and present for your parts? What stops you from being able to have compassion for your parts? Is it because, like my friend, you didn't have that as a child, so you've never seen it modeled? Do you have other parts that thinks it's weird, right? Can you get curious, which is one of the qualities of self, like my friend was able to do, about why she couldn't be lovey-dovey with her parts? So I would love for you to consider how you speak to your parts. What is stopping you from being more compassionate and more caring? Do you have a part that judges you or me for being lovey-dovey? Because candidly, that phrase has a bit of a negative slant to it, doesn't it? So yeah, that's my invitation this week is, how do you talk to your parts? What is stopping you from having compassion? And maybe what's stopping you is another part. And so that's what I'd like you to consider. My defender part was stopping me from being compassionate to my inner critic. What parts are stopping you? And if the answer is none, congratulations! Yay, you are well along the path and the journey. But if you do have parts, get curious about them. Get curious about why it's hard for them to be compassionate, because that is a part, my friend. That is another part. So then you want to get curious about that part. Why is this hard? So thanks for joining me today. Until next time, love to you and all of your parts.